Hi, coming down.
Hi, we're here with Eric Bromberg of Blue Ribbon in Soho. Is this your first restaurant many years ago? What year was that, 1990?
1992
Great.
we opened.
And I thought it would be interesting to have you show us how you make your fried chicken. It's one of your most famous dishes.
Absolutely.
And you actually started a whole separate chain, right?
We did. Well, we've been making fried chicken at this restaurant for 22 years, and last year we opened an exclusive fried chicken restaurant.
Great. So, all right, let's see how you do it.
Great. So, to start off, we have our chicken, which is about a 3 1/4 pound chicken. And we've trimmed the chicken and cut it into 8 pieces, which includes a breast. And as you see, we've split along the breastbone here, and we've removed the rib bones, and we have full coverage of the skin over the breast. And that's done very carefully with a knife. Use the wing, we cut off the end of the tip, and then we make a little cut in the skin. That way, when you fry the chicken, instead of bunching up together, it comes apart and it cooks evenly and more quickly. So we don't season the chicken, we make sure the chicken's dry, essentially. And we're gonna put the chicken in egg whites. Now this is simply egg whites, and then we'll let them sit for about 10 or 15 seconds, make sure they get coated properly, no air bubbles, and make sure the skin is properly on top of the chicken.
Oh, egg whites, is that unusual instead of egg?
Very unusual. So we don't put the egg yolks in at all. We just use the whites, and because of the protein in the egg whites, it makes a perfect bond with the skin of the chicken. So a lot of times you have fried chicken where the crust crumbles off or it peels right off, and you get oil underneath or grease underneath. This will stay, basically forms a fusion between the skin and the egg whites.
I like your chicken for that reason, because I've tested a lot lately, and when the breading comes off in a big sheet, it ruins it.
Right, it changes the whole thing. So our idea is that you get crunch with every bite. So we go into the flour mixture, and the flour mixture is something we came up with sort of by accident, but we were making matzo balls and we were trying to figure out what would be great with fried chicken. We didn't have any cornmeal, so we used matzo meal mixed with flour to kind of a magical result.
What is matzo meal? Is it a rice base, or what's it?
Matzo meal is a bread, essentially, with no leavening.
Gotcha.
No yeast, and it's made into almost a cracker. And then that matzah is ground up until it becomes a meal, and
the most common breading for fried chicken would be pure flour, or is it
either straight flour or cornmeal, or a combination of the two.
Okay.
So then we're gonna very gently move the chicken between our hands until we remove the excess flour. Lay it in the basket gently, and it's really important to remove all the excess flour, otherwise the flour goes off into your fry oil, and then the result of that is that you get a burnt taste in your fried chicken. So we want to make sure the skin is all spread properly and everything is evenly coated. Take the breast out, and you can see the skin is still laying on top of the breast. Make sure we take off any excess, and we'll lay those pieces in. And then right from here, we'll move right to the fryer.
What kind of oil and temperature is this?
This is soy oil at 375 degrees.
Is that unique to you, or is that pretty typical?
You know, honestly, when we started 22 years ago, we started with peanut oil. But with all the allergies, peanut allergies, and all the troubles we've had with that, we've moved to soy oil and found that most people can tolerate soy oil, and it's a very neutral oil. So
flavor-wise, you mean?
Flavor-wise, so it allows the chicken to be the chicken.
Yep.
Just gonna wash my hands.
Okay.
So here with us today is Chris. You want to come out? Chris Pollock, who's we've been working together for 27 years. Chris is the head chef of all the Blue Ribbons.
Okay.
And then around the corner we have Bolivar. Bolivar, how long you been with us? 22 years?
Yes.
22 years. He's been making the mashed potatoes and the gravy and everything that goes in all the dishes.
Okay.
All right, so while the chicken is frying, and you can see right now, I'll lift it up, you can see the crust is already formed.
Yep.
And it has a nice sort of pitted and crumbly look to it. And that really helps the crunch because it's lots of surface area.
How do you know when it's done? Timer or just by art?
We do so many fried chickens a day that we get used to a time. So we'll set a specific time for a specific size bird. So it'll be exactly 12 minutes for the breast, 8 minutes for the leg, or vice versa. But it really depends. Each chicken, when we get chickens in, we measure and weigh each piece, and then we pick our time. But ultimately, every chicken that comes out, we test with a thermometer to make sure it's at least 165 degrees.
And since this is a fine dining restaurant, it's one batch at a time. It's one
batch at a time. We do it. Everything is done to order, and a single order is a half a chicken, so it's 4 pieces. It's a breast, a wing, a leg, and a thigh. There we go. So you can see it's sort of a toasty, crispy version of collard greens. Goes really, really well with the fried chicken.
It's funny, I have kale I grow in my garden, and I make it that way too. I like the crispy aspect to it.
Yeah, it's a really nice, fresh feel. So then we'll put the mashed potatoes. And we have chicken gravy that we made out of chicken stock. And so that will go in the mashed potatoes. And now we'll come over to the fryer. Our chicken's just about done. You can see how the wing and the thigh are already floating. Once they float, you know they're done.
Gotcha, interesting.
That's
I was going to ask that how the white and dark meat are handled differently, but they cook differently, you take them out differently.
Exactly. So the thigh, you can see once it's floating like that, it's fully cooked. We're going to remove that. And we're going to set it right here on a grate.
That's a pretty piece of chicken.
Our wing. You see how beautifully crispy and coated it is?
Yeah, that is blue ribbon material.
All right, so now we're going to leave the other 2 pieces cooking for a few minutes.
You season it now.
And then this is a seasoning mix that we make from paprika, cayenne pepper, and then we dry our own herbs. We have, actually, I'll show you up here. This is where we dry our stuff.
All right.
So these are onions.
Yeah.
They dry for 3 days up here. We also dry parsley, basil, thyme, garlic, and those all get ground up together and we make our seasoning. So we have our seasoning in a shaker, and nice and easy, we're gonna coat the chicken.
I like the cayenne and paprika myself. A little on the spicy side.
Yeah, so it gives it a really cool flavor.
Is that unique or common to most recipes for fried chicken?
Honestly, it's pretty unique. Most fried chickens, seasoning goes in either the marinade, which can either be buttermilk or brine. So you get all your flavor into the chicken, or it's in the flour mixture where all the seasoning's in there. So to me, that gives a very different, it's a very traditional fried chicken, a very southern fried chicken. We call this northern fried chicken, mostly because we made it up in New York. But our approach was to keep the chicken as clean as possible. We add no salt to the chicken. We're not brining, curing. It actually tastes like chicken. So it's as clean and natural a taste of chicken. And then we have all the seasoning sort of on the crispy, crunchy parts. You can see the leg has made its way to the top.
Okay.
So the leg is just about done. The breast, being the biggest piece, takes the longest because the breast is about 10 or 11 ounces.
Yep.
And a leg, how much is a leg? 3 or 4 ounces? 5. That's it for a sec.
And now, it's more apparent why when you order fried chicken at a restaurant, they warn you it's going to take longer, and
Right.
and why it's not on the menu of a lot of places.
Right. It's, you know, ultimately 22 years ago when we started, fried chicken wasn't considered a fine dining option, so we were certainly the first ones to kind of get there. So we didn't really have anyone we were following or any idea of how it goes, so we just kind of decided we're going to make it the best way we can and as fresh as possible, so that's what we did.
And you've been able to scale this up for your place on the east side?
Exactly.
I keep trying to recruit you to come to Battery Park with that. Fried chicken would do well down there.
I think it would do great. All right, so now you can see the breast is starting to rise.
Yep.
That means we have about a minute to go. So, breast is up. I'll remove that. Let that sit as well. And now we'll season these two pieces. Okay, so from this point, the plate, we take our breast, we take our thigh, our wing, and our leg, and then we need one more thing. We need a ramekin of honey.
Honey.
Now, honey started when Bruce and I were kids. We were allowed to keep a honey bear on the table at home when we had dinner. Most items we wouldn't eat unless we had some honey on it. So ultimately, honey found its way into all sorts of things, and so we eat our fried chicken with honey, and you get this salty and sort of spicy thing going on with the crust, and then you have the super sweet, delicious honey flavor, and it's just an amazing combination that goes together. Yeah, it's sort of becoming more and more acceptable and more interesting, but sort of that spicy and sweet thing really comes together beautifully.
Excellent.
And that's it. That's our
Great.
Blue Ribbon fried chicken.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.